Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So, I'm going to finish my Godzilla and Kong reviews with Godzilla vs. Kong. I know I already reviewed Godzilla X Kong, New Empire, before I rewatched this movie, but I finally got around to rewatching this movie. I first saw it in theaters, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And so I finally got around to doing a rewatch. But before we get into the review, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews. And if you want to help out the channel in some other ways, be sure to check the links in the description below. If you like sci-fi books, you can go ahead and check out my science fiction book, The Chimera Prophecies and Other Short Stories. It's really fun. So links are in the description below. Alright, so now let's get into the review for Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay, so I think this movie takes place like a few years after Godzilla King of the Monsters, and we get the return of Millie Bobby Brown's character Madison and her dad, played by Kyle Chandler, and I think those are like the only returning characters. We do meet like Ken Watanabe's like son, but like I think those are the only returning characters from this franchise. And she teams up with a friend of hers and a podcaster who's like a conspiracy theorist, and he works for like the company, the enemy company, so they form Team Godzilla. And then we get Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall and the little girl Gia, and they team up for Team Kong. And so I like that we're like following these two teams, you know, and each of them are discovering something different, but both like for the same company, right? Apex. So I do like that we've split the movie up and we got these two storylines that we're following, Team Godzilla, Team Kong. It gives us kind of like some team to like root for, like which one. I'm personally Team Kong. But I do like that aspect of the film. And so let's go ahead and just start with the good, though. So what I really like about this movie is I think it has a good balance of the tone. It doesn't take itself like super seriously, but like just enough, right? But it's also not like too ridiculous with like its humor and plot points. It's a little ridiculous, but not like too much, right? Like this isn't like Thor: Love and Thunder, right? So like I think it just like kind of pushes the limits of the continuity, but doesn't like overdo it, right? Like, so it maintains some of the continuity, like some of the like kind of important ones, but also kind of like throws some of it out and like creates new things that like were never mentioned or doesn't make sense. But so it doesn't like try to like do too much from the previous films, but it still kind of like has its own like tone for this movie where it's got like it's kind of ridiculous but not too ridiculous, and it doesn't take itself too seriously like that first Godzilla film with Aaron Taylor Johnson. That was too serious. Or both Godzilla films really were kind of too serious. And Kong Skull Island I think had a good balance also, like this film does. So that's one of the things I do like about this movie. I think Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, gets that wrong. So like to compare the two Godzilla vs. Kong movies, like that movie like is way too ridiculous and just like throws continuity out the window, and it gets like full on fantasy mode, and it's just like all over the place. Whereas I think this one just kind of has that right balance, and so that's I think why I appreciate this one a little more. I also think this movie has like some great visual shots. Like I love the shot with like Gia and Kong in the rain and they're like touching their fingers together, right? That's a really good shot. I love Kong and Godzilla fighting on the carrier in the middle of the ocean, throwing punches. That's really cool. Towards the end, Kong's axe, like he's got his axe, he's like coming down on Godzilla's atomic breath. Like that's a really cool shot, and that's just awesome. And also I really like the neon colors like throughout the film. Gives it this kind of like more of like a sci-fi type of feel to it. I think because it's Mecha Godzilla, but I just like that look, and it just kind of looks cool. And you know we don't get to spend too much time in a hollow earth, so it doesn't look like bad CGI environment like Godzilla X Kong. So I think just like the look of this movie just looks really good. It doesn't have like the amazing beautiful shots like King of Monsters had, but again I think it has a little like the neon adds a little bit of that fun element. Hollow Earth adds that fun element, and the shots just are like poster quality. So I really like the visuals of this movie a lot. And speaking of Kong, it's axe. I love that he gets an axe. He gets like his own Stormbreaker, and he's got this throne in Hollow Earth from his ancestors. So I'm totally Team Kong. And so for me, this is just like a great level up for Kong, right? Like he's really cool. And I still do love the sound effect of Godzilla powering up his atomic breath, that womp 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 sound, and like it goes up his spine, and that's just so cool. And then he like blows his atomic breath through like Hollow Earth, like creates a tunnel straight to Kong and Hollow Earth. That's pretty awesome. And also love like anytime Godzilla's swimming, and so like when he's swimming in the water and he's fighting Kong underwater, that to me is just great. That like reminds me of like Crocodile. It's very reptilian, and I think that's what kind of like really sets Godzilla apart from the other kind of Titans, is that like that he is kind of like just a giant lizard in some ways, and it's very different from Kong's like set of abilities. And so I really like that. This movie I just think kind of just highlights both of their different abilities in a really good way. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get into the things that I kind of didn't like or kind of were questionable. So, the Kong plot doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, we see Kong and he's like in this dome on Skull Island. They never really tell us what happened with Skull Island, like, after the events of Kong Skull Island, the movie. Like, did Monarch just come on in and, like, set up this biodome? Or, like, what happens? Like, they don't even tell us, like, what happened to Gia's family. Just that they're gone. And we know from the sequel movie that, like, her tribe people moved down to Hollow Earth. So, like, what event happened to move them to Hollow Earth? What event happened to create this dome that Kong needs to live in? I just wish that was a little more explored. So the Kong stuff is, because of that, they need to move him off of Skull Island, and they think Hollow Earth is a good place because Apex wants him to find, I think, a power source. And so this is where it gets like a little weird. And so they also introduce like this rivalry between Kong and Godzilla, and that just kind of seems like this like contrivance just to get them to fight. And that's kind of fine because that's what we want to see. We want to see them fight. But just like, oh, there's an ancient rivalry. Like, since when? So that was a little weird. And, like, and yeah, what is Skull Island? Is it Skull Island like a piece of Hollow Earth that's just on the surface? Is there a portal to Hollow Earth on the island? Is that how the Skull Crawlers came up? Like, they kind of hinted at, like, the Hollow Earth was under Skull Island in that Kong movie. So, yeah, did I miss something? And, like, why did they need Kong? Is because they don't need him to find the tunnel to Hollow Earth, right? Because they have an established outpost in Antarctica where they have the tunnel, like the portal or whatever it is, to Hollow Earth. Do they need him to find the power source once they get into Hollow Earth? Because Kong's never been to Hollow Earth. How would he know to go to the power source? I think they say it's like a calling. That to me just sounds like you're guessing at things. How do they know he's not just going to run off and explore Hollow Earth? Like, there's just no guarantee that any of this is going to work. I mean, I guess they're just like hoping, right? But so to me, I don't know, that just kind of seemed a little weak. Could have maybe been a little bit tighter on the Kong stuff. So, but they needed a reason to get him to Hollow Earth. And also, like, speaking of Hollow Earth, does Apex use the tunnels that lead to Hollow? Like, do they use those tunnels to, like, go to, like, from, what was it, Florida to Hong Kong? Or did they build their own underground massive tunnel system? Because to me that would take, like, decades and could not be kept a secret. So, I was not 100% sure how Apex had, like, this level 33 that had, like, these hyper speed tunnels to, like, across the world. That didn't make any sense either. And also, I wish Team Godzilla actually did more active things. Like, they seem to kind of just, like, accidentally discover things or solve things. And, like, the podcast guy's a little bit too extreme. I think they don't play up the storyline. Like, he's, like, carrying around this, like, flask full of alcohol that his wife gave him or something. I don't know what they're trying to do with that. Like, it doesn't really have anything to do with anything other than, oh, give me that and I'll pour it and we'll, disrupt the Mechagodzilla and we'll shut down. Like, so that's what I mean. Like, they kind of, like, happenstancely make things happen. That didn't make any sense. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not really too active in discovering things. And then the villain just, like, does his villain monologue. So, I wish Team Godzilla was maybe a little bit more proactive, I guess. I don't know. You kind of just go with these things because it's fun. I do think the podcast guy's a little too much, though. And also, I just have, like, a small little nitpick that's not, like, necessarily this movie, but, like, just movies that have apes in general. Like, I really hate it when people in movies call apes monkeys. That bothers me. Like, apes are much larger, they don't have tails, they're more intelligent. Let's just please stop calling apes monkeys. So, that's just like a little nitpick, like, because the one lady, like, keeps calling him a monkey. But overall, actually, I really did have a lot of fun with this movie. I thought the fights were really great. Like, I really do love that fight on the carrier. That just looks awesome. I like Kong and Godzilla teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla. And I think that the villain's plan isn't terrible, right? Like, there is some sense to the idea that people need, a backup plan to fight a Titan when a Titan comes. Obviously, it goes terribly wrong, and because they were using, like, the brain of Monster Zero or whatever, but then again, that is kind of the point, right? Like, it goes terribly wrong. But, so I actually think the villain's plot's not bad. So, in general, the plot lines are kind of fine. I think we could maybe tune up Team Godzilla a bit, and Kong's storyline a bit better, but overall, they're fine. It provides a great way to see the two Titans clash, and that's always a lot of fun. That's kind of what we just come here for anyway. They don't do a lot with Hollow Earth, and I think that was the right choice. You don't want to spend too much time in Hollow Earth. But if they still make another Godzilla Kong movie, either solo Godzilla, solo Kong, another team up, I'll be there for it. I'll watch it, because these are actually kind of fun. And I really do enjoy them. I kind of want to, let's get back to the continuity a little bit for me. I want to, like, kind of rein it in a little bit. Let's, like, make things make a little more sense. Maybe bring back some more recurring characters. So, yeah, overall, I think this is a fun movie. If you like Team Kong, you're going to get a lot out of it. If you like Godzilla, you're going to get a lot out of it. So that's my review of Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it's a fun movie. It has some minor problems, but overall it's well balanced. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you like it, or did you hate it, or did you just think it's kind of meh? So let me hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe to the channel, please, and check the links below to help support the channel. Again, you can buy my book, link in the description below. Everything helps support the channel out. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, Kong bows to no one. Bye.